Hello everyone, 안녕하세요 여러분. My name is Becky and I'm a half Korean, half English foodie with a mission to promote real authentic Korean food and its history. On my socials, I'm known as Hanguk Hapa, meaning Korean halfie, and in this video, I'm going to share with you the history to how New Malden became synonymously known as the Koreatown of London. Originally, this was meant to be a montage of the Kingston Korean Festival, but there were some technical issues with the sound, so I decided to use the footage as a visual background to share how New Malden became a little Koreatown. As an undergraduate, I took a bachelor's degree in sociology and focused my dissertation on the ethnic clustering of Koreans in New Malden. This video will be a bite-sized version of my findings, but you can contact me if you'd like a read of my 10,000-word dissertation. New Malden, a quiet suburban town on the periphery of London, located within the Royal Borough of Kingston, is said to be one of the most densely populated areas of Koreans outside of Korea. Demographically, New Malden has a population of about 25,000, or roughly 25% of its local residents to be of Korean nationality. These figures are acknowledged to be the largest concentration of Koreans in Europe. This is why the small town of New Malden has come to be known as the capital's own Koreatown. Here you can find anything Korea related, from Korean supermarkets to restaurants, mini-marts, Korean hairdressers, Korean-owned cafes, Korean Residents Association, butchers, karaoke bars, and an abundance of Korean churches. All of these services form a solid community of support among the British Korean society, which is especially important for newly arrived Koreans who may find British social practices and language hard to understand at first, which can make it even more difficult to assimilate and be part of UK society. One of the theories behind how New Malden became a little piece of Korea stemmed from the fact that the original South Korean embassy was based in New Malden, as well as its South Korean ambassador who lived here during the 1960s and 70s.
On behalf of the Royal Borough of Kingston upon Thames, I would like to welcome all of you, and especially Mr. Ambassador. The borough has a long-standing relationship with Korea. As you know, we have one of the largest Korean community in the UK, in New Malden. This community plays a very important part in the borough and the businesses they have and what they do for this borough. And I'm very grateful on behalf of the borough to all of you.
During the first wave of Koreans, house prices around New Malden and the borough were relatively cheap, so many other Korean citizens followed the ambassador's steps to settle within the area and set up businesses. Shortly after, house prices soared as well as New Malden's popularity. New Malden was also where giant tech Samsung set up their UK headquarters, which attracted many more Korean companies to settle in the UK, bringing their staff with them. During the late 80s, there were only a handful of Korean families and very few Korean stores in New Malden. But over the next 10 years, with the South Korean government allowing more freedom to travel, immigration boomed to the UK. With an already established community of Koreans in New Malden, as well as its generally attractive features, such as the close proximity to London via the railway line, good schools within the catchment area, relatively cheap properties and other amenities, an increasing number of Koreans found good reason to settle here.
Oh wow, it's crispy. Oh yeah.
If we waste food, we have a penalty to pay.
범 내려온다 장님 깊은 골로 대한 짐승이 내렸다 봄은 헐숭덜숭 꼬리는 잔뜩 한 팔이 넘고 위에 머리 흔들며
In more recent times, the South Korean population residing in New Malden has drawn in another wave of those from the north of the demarcation line. In 2015, an article by The Independent stated that approximately 700 North Koreans are currently located in New Malden, which makes it the world's largest North Korean settlement outside of Korea. Although to the untrained eye, the Koreans of New Malden may appear to look similar, the community here are comprised of South Koreans, North Koreans, and Korean Chinese that each have their own culture and values which should be celebrated and respected. For North Koreans, New Malden is known as Little Pyongyang and has become home for a number of North Korean refugees who have been able to escape their home country. Despite the struggles that come with adapting to UK life, many settle here and take on jobs within the community, such as working in Korean restaurants and supermarkets. It is helpful that many businesses within New Malden have signs and other important information in Hanguk, the language of the Korean people. More work is needed to provide a better understanding and awareness between the different ethnic Koreans residing within New Malden. But projects such as the Kingston project, founded by KBCE, celebrate cultural exchange through sharing the different ways of making kimchi, the South Korean way, the North Korean way, and the Korean Chinese way. Such projects can help achieve social harmony throughout the Korean community, and this is a continuous goal of KBCE, to bring about more integration amongst the different Koreans, as even at the Kingston Korean Festival, there were sample tastings of South Korean and North Korean songpyeon.
There is some North and South Korean food tasting today. I haven't tried it yet, have you?
Oh, I have tried the food. It's just the right spice for me because I come from Ghana in West Africa. We cook very spicy food, fascinating food.
Thank you.
Very much. Yes.
In a way, the Koreatown of London, New Malden, offers an insight into how the Korean community supports each other when arriving and living in the UK. New Malden offers a sense of familiarity and comfort when you're millions of miles away from home, whether you're South Korean, North Korean, or Korean Chinese. From the signs written in Hangul, to the supermarkets, to the restaurants that serve the most delicious Korean food, reasonably priced and well seasoned. Whilst more conversations of a peace regime for the Korean peninsula gather momentum, a visit to New Malden Koreatown offers a small insight into how the Korean diaspora could live harmoniously together.
So Mark, how was being my videographer today?
To be honest, it was like the worst thing. I'm just kidding.
Mark, how was being Hanguk Hapa's videographer for Kingston Korean Festival?
It was definitely super fun. Even though I couldn't feel my arms anymore, I feel like, yeah, it's so cool the fact that you have made an impact here in New Malden. So many talented people today.
Yeah, for sure, including you. including you.
How about you? What was the best part about today?
The best part for me was watching the taekwondo because it wasn't Korean people performing, it was an English group, but seeing their passion and how dedicated they were to learning the art of it. It was almost quite emotional to see, and just seeing non-Korean people embracing Korean culture. It was an amazing day.